because we're
Yeah.
trying to control what is so much bigger than us.
Yes.
When our main control is in the moment, in the choice that we make now, right?
Yes. I am so excited to be here with all of you on this. I don't know whether I should call this a podcast or a show or whatever, but this is something that I have been thinking of for the longest time because I meet so many great people and such a lot of them are inspirations for me. And then, therefore, it was time to bring those people on board and really talk about who they are and what they're up to and what is it that is behind the person and how they have shaped themselves over time. So, my today's guest is someone who's very dear to me and has a significant part to play in my life. Uh, when I was undergoing my own transformation, I met this really nice guy at a dinner, and then we reconnected, and I asked him, "What is this coaching and NLP and all this thing?" And he took me on with a very beautiful, beautiful, small explanation, small as in 30, 40 minutes, and then from then on, he's been an inspiration, and we've learned a lot with from each other. So I am happy to present to you Mr. Aly Balagamwala. You get claps too.
And Assalamu alaikum, Adnan, and thank you for inviting me to be your first guest on this show.
I am so happy, and there could have never been a better choice since you are the person I started the journey with.
Well, I'm glad to be the basis by which the world got such a great coach and a trainer.
Uh, the funny part is that on that particular day when I sat down with you, I remember that dinner. We were sitting in a mutual friend's place, and I was like, okay, I know Ali. Ali is something to do with NLP, and I asked you what NLP is, and it was the you tried to explain it very well, but it was like anyone, when you look at what NLP is about and coaching is about, you just don't get. Oh, you like, oh, is it like therapy? No, it's not therapy. Oh, is it like the computer thing? Something was there, and then you were kind enough to take time out for me, and we met on uh, coffee and pizza or something like that, and we shared some. And those learnings, by the way, have never left me. I still quote them. Were relevant in my trainings when I'm training coaches as well. So, anyways, so thank you for being here, and it is a pleasure. And let's talk about a lot of fun stuff, shall we?
Shall we? Yes, of course.
All
We
right,
can begin.
we can begin. Ready?
Sorry. Yes.
Okay, should I do the countdown? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Boom. So, Ali, from that day to here, I've met a lot of coaches, a lot of people, and everyone has their own, maybe a story or something. I will talk about that in a bit. But I do want to know, I mean, there's a tag here, CEO Next Level Performance Solutions. There's a hypnotist, therapist, counselor, so many things that you do. But who is Ali really?
When you ask that question to anyone, who are you, right? Who is this person? It's a very tough question, and I've been actually pondering this because I knew that you would be asking this question to me. Um, so, who am I? Well, if you get down to the basic of it, I'm a human being, right? And based out of Karachi, Pakistan, father of two, husband of one, son, brother. Um, and then I have various roles that I play outside those basic roles. As the CEO of Next Level Performance Solutions, I'm a coach, I'm a trainer, I'm a counselor, I'm a hypnotherapist. Then, as the director of a couple of family businesses, I am, an employer. And then, as part of the community I live in, I am a neighbor. So there's a whole lot of things. But who am I really? Is a very good question, and that's something that philosophers can write volumes on, right? Who am I?
Well, we're trying to
Um,
figure it out.
yeah, I'm still trying to figure it out, and that's what will be. Who am I? What am I doing? Right? My basic thought process started evolving back in the university when I was in North Carolina State, and I was faced with this new environment, which was quite different from where I was from, right? And that's where I started asking, who am I? And one of the things that came up for me was my religious beliefs. And that sort of started shaping me, and I started questioning some of the beliefs that I had, and then I started learning more about them. And I think that's the journey that really sparked things off. It allowed me to understand my relationship with God. It allowed me to understand my relationship with myself, and then overall with the people and the community around me. Um, 28 years down the road, or something, 29 years down the road, I'm still evolving, understanding, and trying to figure out really who am I. And every interaction that I make, every moment, I seem to add on more facets and more venues of understanding myself in relationship with the others around. So I still don't know who am I, right? But in the context of being able to say, one of the things that I understood was that my main purpose was as in servitude to the Creator, in servitude to His creation, and to become what is popularly, used as a label as servant leadership, right? Because I believe that is one of the main facets by which you can guide people by becoming understanding of their needs and being able to take their needs and presenting it in a way where you can allow them to grow and you can grow along with them.
That's deep and inspiring, and I see several layers. I mean, thank you for sharing your journey. Um, Similar themes, I think, occur in a lot of other people's lives, including mine. And like you, we're all trying to figure it out. And if they've not figured it out for the past several thousand years or hundreds of years, then we have time. But I think we'll come back to this servant leadership thing. But I just do want to know that it's interesting when this is a question I pose to almost all of my NLP practitioner and EI practitioner classes. Um, and the question that the response that I get is not very different from the one that you gave me, because we are so many roles and so many identities at the same time. But if I were to just peel the onion and just talk about who you were if when you were not a coach or not a father or uh, not carrying a personal set of beliefs, not necessarily religious, but whatever beliefs that you have. We may not be able to
Mhm.
let go of the beliefs, but who really are you if I peel the layers of the roles that that enhance you, so to say.
So basically, if I was to drop all roles and all beliefs, which is a very tough thing to do in this world, I'm basically just a guy who is curious, who is learning, who is on a journey of discovery, right? And every moment that I learn something new, I see how my life is shaped by it, right? So my thought process is that one can never really reach the destination, because you are the destination, you are, and you are the journey, the traveler, right? So I mean, to quote Iqbal, um, the poet, he said, um, ढूंढता फिरता हूं मैं खुद अपने आप को इकबाल, आप ही गोया मंजिल, आप ही मुसाफिर हूं मैं, right? That I am the destination and I am the traveler. So so this is a continuous search, and this is a continuous journey of discovery, where every moment, every interaction allows you to understand things in a different way, to shape your perspective, and to allow yourself to move forward. And I think that's the main purpose, where you are able to create momentum and move forward. For
Yeah.
me, before NLP, I think I have been going through life without really major goals or major plans, right? And it was more like, what am I going to do? Okay, go to university. Why do I want to go to university? Because everybody does. What do I want to study? Textiles. Why? Because the family business is textiles. Um, I'm a I'm a bit more interested in the science and the things, on that side, on the technical side of things. Okay, let's do engineering. Went to college. Engineering didn't fit. Went to material science. Didn't fit. Went to chemistry. Perfect. Graduated textile chemistry. Went through, came back, you know, went into towel manufacturing, because that's what was being set up by the family business at that point. Ran it for a while. Went into minerals. Why? Because everything was just, you know, life just took me on this little twist and turn. It was 2013, the end of 2013, beginning 2014, where, well, actually, even before that, 2008, I started questioning, a lot of the limitations I had. I had this innate um, fear of public speaking. I would not be able to do what I'm doing right now, because of, literally, I would freeze. Um,
We've all been
I
there.
joined social media. Huh?
We've all been there one way or the other.
So even in leadership positions, even in university where I was heading an organization, a student organization, I would just be there. I would start the meeting and then pass it on to my VP, because it would allow me to speak less. And I was okay with a selective group of known people, but in a public setting, no. I decided to do something about it. Started going out. Started meeting the. In those days, Twitter had just started, or X as it's called now, and so I was one of the first few people from Pakistan on that platform, and we would meet and have these tweet ups, right? And so I started meeting new people, made new friends, um, started going out of my sort of shell. And then I discovered that, if I can change that facet of me, I can change a whole lot of things in my life. And it went on. Joined Toastmasters. Finally got over a little bit of the fear of being on stage, being on screen. Went on to, um, in 2013. I remember 2011. I joined Toastmasters. Bombed my um, first speech, which was like a 2 minute, 1 minute, 2 minute impromptu. And I was like, right. And then Kamran Rizvi, one of the trainers, he was chairing the meeting. And when he had called me, I said, Kamran bhai, I can't. He said, son, I don't know if you can or cannot. The rules say you must, so let's do this. So I went up in about 30 seconds. I walked off stage. I said, I can't do this. He called me back. He said, you have a minimum of 1 minute. You still have 30 seconds left. Stay quiet, but stand there. And that, I think, those 30 seconds really, were the toughest 30 seconds of my life. I have zero clue what I was supposed to talk about. I just know that after 35, 40 seconds of standing there, I was like, is it over yet? And I walked off and I'm like, I'm not doing this. Right. Um, Now, I didn't have NLP at that point. Right. But I think I used some of the things in my mind and I said, look, what are you doing? And thought process was, I want to become a better speaker. Well, how are you going to do it? And the answer came was by speaking. Right. And and so I said, let's give this a little chance. Let's try this out. What's the worst that can happen? You've already um, gone to the worst case scenario where you've been stuck for a minute saying nothing. Perfect. I gave it a chance. A year and a half later, I was speaking in front of 350 people at IBA on social media and religion. So I think that a lot of times we've been trained to not believe in ourselves. And over time, as we go on and become the person that we want to be, we have to confront the old us and say, yes, this was me. What do I want to be now? Right? It doesn't have to be the same as yesterday. It doesn't have to be the same as 1 hour ago. I can
There's
choose at this point.
constant evolution.
Right. And at this point, I can choose who I want to be. Right. And that's the power of believing in yourself. And I think over my journey, I started believing in myself. And when I reached the point of taking my first NLP practitioner course, I was like, there's so many things that feel familiar about this, right? And so I said, let's take this forward. And, you never look back and, the world changes for you.
That's such an inspiring story, and a lot of I can resonate with quite a lot of it in many ways. So I'm reminded I tell this story a lot because back in the day, I remember my first time on the stage, and you were lucky you had 1 minute. I was there for minutes, right? And I couldn't go beyond hello, and there was a slump right here.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you're lucky. You're lucky, but I just there's a lot of interesting stuff going on here, right? There's a lot of understanding yourself, and we used to go back to the university days and finding a degree, and just going with the flow, sort of. And then there's an Ali Balagamwala who has a very different sort of identity or public presence versus the Ali Balagamwala that was being prepared for, if I may say,
Mhm.
right? So there's a trajectory that is it's forking out in some way. Um,
Right.
where's the shift happening here?
Well, I think the shift happens every day with every choice you make. It's not about, this one moment where everything changes for you. Yes, there are some moments where there is a big shift. I believe that life is all about the micro shifts that are moving, slowly turning you. And a lot of times one can ask, where am I actually headed, right? See, my personal belief is of a divine plan for you. And a lot of times, sometimes you have to be able to let go in order to gain control. And
Yeah.
it's a very, it's a concept which is hard to understand until you actually do it,
Yes.
right? Where, see, a lot of times when we're trying to control things which are around us and trying to control the chain of events which are happening, we get into this loop of anxious thought, anxious feelings, because nothing is in our control at that point. Because we're
Yeah.
trying to control what is so much bigger than us.
Yes.
When our main control is in the moment, in the choice that we make now, right?
Yes.
And it's a tough it's a tough call when you're not used to that.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think part of my training and part of what NLP created a shift in me initially, and coaching solidified it for me, was that to ask yourself, what are my resources in the moment,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
one of the things I learned from a mentor is the phrase, I will not let the things which are out of my control stop me from doing things which are in my control, right? And this is a very important concept that I work with in my coaching clients, in my counseling clients. There's so many things which are out of our control.
Yeah.
You cannot change the weather. You cannot change the traffic patterns. Once you are in that situation, you can choose to dance in the rain or you can choose to curse it, right? And that's the thing.
Choice.
That's the choice we have, right? What does this mean to me? And, you know, and I think the flexibility that comes out of this whole journey for me is to be able to create that minute by minute shift where I'm able to accept things when they don't go my way, knowing that somewhere that whole divine plan is going to take me to the right place. That's a very important aspect in my life. Does that mean that my life is perfect? No, right? I have my little quirks and my little things that I'm still working on. There are days when I do freak out. You know, there are days when I snap at the people around me because I am overloaded, overwhelmed, whatever. And that's the whole point. That's the part of you being human, where you can accept that yes, there will be days when I will not be at my 100%. The whole point is when you do realize that I am snapping at someone, I am, you know, freaking out at this deadline which is coming up, whatever. All right, just breathe, right? Take a
Yeah.
step. Beginning of this whole session, we had this little technical, whatever we call it. Part of it may have been not being on time, right? From my
Well,
side.
yes, you were on time
Yeah,
before time.
but as in, that allows that little space, that breathing space for any of these things. But once we did it, we were able to swivel and to sort of pivot out of that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
If the technical equipment is not working, change it. I changed my computer. Switched some things around. We got here. We're here, right? And that's the whole point in life. Things are not going to go your way. And I know that in the moment when people feel this sudden overwhelm of I can't do this, nothing's going my way, everybody is against me, everything is against me, and you get into that sort of spiral down. At some point, you have to say stop. You have to take a step back, and you have to say, okay, I accept nothing's in my control.
Yeah,
Let me find that little one little bit which is in my control. As tell people, you know, at least you can breathe, right?
yeah.
So make that choice, right? Once you make that pause, once you take that breath, that allows you to then see, okay, what is my next step? And that allows you to create the shift. That allows you to say, okay, let's take this one step at a time. We don't have to change everything in one moment. We can create that small micro shift every minute, every moment.
I think that's what evolution looks like, actually. The micro shifts. I mean, whether we agree with the modern, uh, you know, learnings around evolution or not, but essentially it is based on any organism will take some time to change its form, shape, color, whatever, and but it's happening. It's happening by the second. It's
Right.
just that, I mean, it's like, when you have when you have kids, and suddenly we find out, we look at the old picture, we're like, man, you've changed, right?
Yeah.
You were this baby in my arms the other day, and now you're this grown up man or woman, and that you never notice those small incremental changes, but that's evolution. Yeah. The interesting part is, I mean, reflecting back, there's this letting go that you talked about, and then there is also this being in control, this dilemma and dichotomy. And I hear a lot of talk around this that you did, and what was really going on for you as well in terms of the self talk and uh, the evolution.
So around 2013, we had this major financial crisis within our family business. And at that point, I think 2014 was spent pretty much in a daze for me, right? Um, there were moments where we were not sure what was going on, how that would turn out, whether we would be able to bounce back. The great thing is with the family business, with the team that we were able to, coalesce. We were able to join together and say, okay, we have to move forward, right? Let's do this. Let's plan each and every step and see how we can do this. We don't know if we will be able to do it, right? There's no surety, no guarantee. There's no, you know, this will happen. We can only take things one step at a time. And we did. It took us a while. We paid off banks, we paid off debtors, we, made amends. We're still doing that, right? And that moment taught me a lot about resilience because there was a tough time for me. I lost something like 25 pounds in 3 months. And, my shirt used to hang literally like a, you know,
Hanger.
and yeah, and people were like, "What's wrong?" But a lot of times it was very hard to even say things out loud. And part of it, I mean, it took me a lot of time to deal with that sort of traumatic time. And the thing that came out of it for me was I said, I'm too dependent on one thing in my life, right? The family business has been a major pillar and support for me in my growth. It provided me a job coming in, provided me growth, you know. Yet it also created a comfort zone for me. It created this, yeah, I have this, I don't
Which I,
need to really go out and, test myself, which was
yeah.
tough for me because I had been sort of raised in that environment, maybe not with a silver spoon in my mouth, but at least, you know, um,
A
there was
bronze one.
definitely, and maybe a bronze one, yeah. So,
Okay.
so there was this little bit of privilege that I had the fortune to start off with. That crash enabled me to sort of jolted me out of that and said, okay, what are you doing? Who are you? That question, who am I, started coming up again. Who am I without this, family business behind me? What is my contribution to the world as a person? If everything that I know for a fact just melted away, what is left behind?
Yeah.
How am I able to get out of that? And there was a lot of thought, and let me get out of the business, let me do this, let me do that. I couldn't understand what I wanted to do. 2019, there was again a little gap where I had this sort of, um, let's just say I was taking some time off from work, right? Due to some internal conflict that I had. And it just so happened I got this message, you know, NLP, from one of my trainers, Arslan Larik. And Arslan sends this message to me, and I've known Arslan for a long time. Like, I'm doing this course, and, this. And then his marketing manager, Sadeep, sends me another one, right? And it's like two messages in 2 days, and I'm like, NLP, yes, I remember something about NLP, where a bunch of my friends had gone to a test session with Kamran Sultan, right? Another of the NLP trainers in Pakistan. And so now I was like, I had missed that session, but I had no clue what it was, right? And 15 years down the road, now NLP comes back, and I'm like, okay, let's do this. So I sat down, negotiated, took the
The
sort
moment.
of payment plans, and I took it. And then I was like, oh, this is this is exactly what I need in the moment, right? And this allows me to see a path forward, which maybe I can create something of my own. So NLP, hypnosis, coaching, counseling, training, all of those things just added on. And I had the opportunity to train with so many wonderful people out there within the NLP hypnosis coaching community, you being one of them, right?
Yes.
And so Arslan, Sadeed, Kamran, you, um, Freddie Jacquin, Carl Smith, Mike Mendel, I don't know, so many people, whether in person, whether as in online, whether via YouTube or other seminars. It was just like one learning after the other. And that really allowed me to absorb so much. And I would say I'm the better for it.
I'm,
And I
I'm
know
glad.
the people around me think so too.
I think that's a, even though there is always this internal validation that is needed, I think the light that spreads has to be visible to others as well. That's, I mean, I think Robert Tills, when he was explaining that logical levels and then it went on to purpose, And the way I remember, I mean, I don't remember it verbatim, but it was always like, okay, so what do I contribute to the world? This
Hmm.
person that I am, right? So I can be the the light and everything that's inside me, and once it grows and glows, the world around me is, you know, Iqbal again, Jugnu and all that, those beautiful
Right.
metaphors he's used in his poetry. I think, yeah, and just such a lovely conversation. So this has been going on for, this is evolution, 10 years at least I can count from what you tell me.
Mhm.
Um, what has really, as you've gone deeper into this kind of work, what has become clear about yourself in terms of your values and beliefs now standing today?
So a lot of my thought process started solidifying. So the process that I started in university in 1998, you know, slowly those values that were based on my religious beliefs, they started evolving. They started coming up, and a lot of my thought process had already gone to understanding the perspectives that were out there, right? Where I was able to take a step back and see what was my perspective of the world through the religious lens, and then be able to change that lens and see what is that according to a non religious thought, and then take that and ask myself, how do I blend this together, right? How do I blend life from a worldly perspective and life from a otherworldly perspective, and be able to create goals within this world, and then create the ultimate goal of, the hereafter. This was very important because even when I went into coaching and counseling, I wanted to take a lot of those values, that thought system, and be able to present things in the light that made sense to me, while taking on my clients' perspectives, and then allowing them to open up based on those basic understanding of life, right? To be able to create a holistic balance in their life. And I know that my beliefs from a religious perspective do not match every client, right? Even if they are of the same religion as I am, right?
We had a conversation around this first time around we met, and
Yes.
uh, because yeah, this was something I was trying to wrap my head around, and I remember a very specific conversation. We're not going to go into that, but yeah.
Yeah. So it is in evolution, right? To be able to take on someone else's perspective and to take your own and see how they can blend together so that you can help the other person and help yourself forward. And for that, sometimes it's very important to let go of the belief that I am right. What I believe is the only way forward, right?
How do you um so because there is a religious belief at the back playing, and a lot of the clients that we meet, especially as we move into the international circles, uh, surely do not have the same beliefs or values, or they have different shade of the same value, in a very different
Right.
context. And well, and then there's a religious belief, which essentially, which does, whoever's religious belief is there,
Mhm.
and whether, I mean, whatever religion you follow, it does come up with this. I have this belief because this is the right belief to have
Mhm.
at the core of it. That's how the world operates, so to say.
True.
So, how do you reconcile the conflicts if there were any? And
Okay.
is that?
So first is the fundamental right to understand that everyone has the right to believe what they believe, right? My believing in something does not change someone else's perspective.
Yeah,
Yes, I would want them to believe what I believe, but that does not mean that I have to force it on them, right?
yeah,
I can present it to them as a way forward for them, not as a religious sort of conversion, because I've been coaching Christians, Jews, atheists, Sikhs, Hindus, and Muslims, right? So it has nothing to do with the religion per se. But I believe that every person has this basic understanding of life and how it relates to the interconnectivity of human lives. And almost every religion is based on bringing positive character, positive traits, being able to create this bond of community.
it's more
And
of a human need now, or whenever, than a religious need, so to say. And that's what human
yes,
beings.
right. So there's this universal understanding of what is good and what is not.
Yeah,
A lot of people focus on differences. Yes, you can focus on differences, but there's so many things which are in common that you can focus on, and then investigate and be curious about each other's beliefs in a way where it's a learning process for both of you, right? And I'm not talking specifically about coaching, I'm talking about a general perspective in life as well. um, I used to be the comment editor of a major Muslim media outlet, muslimmatters.org, and that really taught me a lot in being able to uh, suspend my own perspectives in order to understand what the other person is coming from, right? And I remember, and that was around the time also 2011 onwards. So that was a big change in my life, where I was being forced to say, okay, wait, this guy's coming in and he's coming in heavy with um, criticism and maybe even not so wonderful language, right? Okay, no worries.
not at all wonderful language sometimes.
Not at all, right? So,
Yeah,
as they call them, trolling, right? So trolls online, and it was not just people with a different religious view in terms of being non-Muslim. It was also Muslims with a very different view, where they were like, "Why are you saying that? What are you doing?" Right? So it was two extremes, and then it was like you're fighting a struggle where you are trying to accommodate those comments and trying to understand what their perspective is, and then see, did what is put out there really not conform with what is the truth, right? Because I believe it's very important to continuously question the beliefs that you have, and then affirm to yourself that this is the belief that is right for me, right?
yeah. But I'm just wondering, were you able to outgrow a belief that you had as you walk through on this journey on being who you are today, or who you are continuing to become?
I'm not a good public speaker,
Yeah,
right? That
yeah.
was, and to be honest, even after the fact that I said, I was speaking on stage for 350 people, up until, well, even now, sometimes when I am about to go on stage, I'm like, I can't do this,
It
right?
does happen. It does happen.
It does happen, right?
I tell myself, and it's almost a belief that I say that, I mean, you can put me in a stadium and I'd be able to talk.
Right,
But yes, it does have its own weight.
right. So it took me a long time to start making videos. Took me a long time to start my own podcast. So when we started up next year, initially it was like, you know, I would be so conscious of myself, right? What am I doing? What am I going to say? I don't know this stuff. Am I going to mess up somewhere? Am I going to say the wrong things? The inner critic was so active, right? Imposter syndrome to the max.
Yeah,
And it sometimes still happens, when clients send testimonials. When I recently posted this someone messaged me, one of my fellow practitioners, and she said you know her daughter and son-in-law are in a public group, university group, and someone asked for a counselor with an Islamic perspective, and they recommended my name there. They said, I don't know this guy personally, but I've heard a lot about him and he's good, right? And yes, when you hear that, it really boosts you up. Yet inside, there's still this, "Oh, am I really that good?" Right? Should
yeah,
I be, should I be, should they be recommending me?
yeah.
Right? When and then, sometimes when you go out in your own life and you're not so perfect and you're not so, um, you're not implementing everything that you know in your own life sometimes.
That's part of
And
being
then,
human.
yes, exactly, right. And then, but the imposter syndrome kicks up and says, no, aren't you the guy who just walked in late, right? Aren't you the guy who did this, right? Aren't you the guy who, can't reach his goals, whatever, right? And that's the whole point. Even understanding and realizing that somewhere that inner critic has a perspective. What can you learn from that perspective?
Yeah,
What is that inner voice saying, right? And
yeah.
why is it saying it?
So the principle of, I mean, NLP, the principle of positive intention. So what is the positive intention behind this
Exactly.
this doubt?
Right. So
This,
I didn't want to add in too many uh, concepts in, but
no,
yes,
no, why not? Why not? I mean,
right,
I think NLP has been so far reaching for the two of us, for the many of us who've taken NLP. If you would
right,
just live your life by the presuppositions, that just changes everything.
exactly. So the presuppositions were something which were very important because they were the basic fabric where I was like, most of these are things I am striving towards, right? Understanding the map of the world, of the people, trying to see the positive intention in everyone's, thought process. And one thing that seeing the positive in other people brought, maybe it's a outcome of the society we're in right now, where everyone is looked at with a sort of negative perspective. What's the angle here? Why is this guy talking to me? Why is this guy being so nice to me? You know, why is this guy so mean to me? Whatever. Being able to say, okay, let's understand what is his positive intention behind it, right? And a lot of times you can stop your thought process and say, wait, if this person has a perspective, what has actually shaped that perspective? What are
Yeah,
the circumstances that have brought that about for him or her, right? And what have my contributions been in enforcing those, right?
that's a powerful thought.
And
I mean,
that's the point. That's the point where you stop and you say, okay, am I contributing to his opposition if it's an oppositional sort of situation? What can I do to be able to understand his perspective and clear that opposition from my side, right?
I think that's
And I,
that's actually beautiful because I mean we do try and understand what the other person's perspective, positive intention is, but the way the person is behaving right now, right? How have I contributed to this behavior? And I think that's a beautiful, powerful, powerful thought. It makes
right.
me think of a lot of things. Thank you for that. Um, so what's what's evolving for you now as I mean today as you look forward?
So there are two things that I'm majorly working on for myself in terms of next level performance solutions. The first is I'm currently doing a master's level diploma in counseling. The second is I've that's been a bit behind, but I've been um, working on pivoting into a trainer role, right? Corporates, personal trainings, things like that. And I think those are the two main facets that I want to take next level performance solutions, and which is why next level hypnotherapy and coaching pivoted into next level performance solutions, because part of this evolution in my own creating the best performance out of my life, I
Yeah.
wanted to take that and present this to other individuals, other organizations. How can we take what we have, pivot it to the next level, and create a performance which truly reflects who we are, which truly reflects our values, um, our understanding of the world, right? And how can we continuously build up the curiosity to create and to evolve that understanding into something even better?
That sounds inspiring and very dreamy, so to say. I mean, to see, I mean, how to evolve and how to pivot now and how to move forward. I think
Right.
that takes a lot of reflection and thought process. And so, what's really showing up when you look at a very cliched question, but I would love to ask this just for my own understanding. When you look at yourself 10 years from today,
Sorry, could you repeat that?
when you look at yourself 10 years from today, and 10 years
Okay.
is a number because, I mean, you talk about starting off with NLPs around 2014, 2015, and we're, towards the end 2025. So, sort of like a
Right.
midpoint.
Yeah. So I would say, Adnan, that 10 years from now, I see next level performance solution being independent of me, as in the base level. The base has to grow. There has to be more people on board that understand that need for curiosity, that need to explore um, in the field of counseling, in the field of training, in the field of coaching. Go from a solopreneur model to creating an organization that really makes a difference. One person can make a difference. Many people together with a shared vision can change the world, right?
Yeah, and I'm just thinking, as you said that, what is your vision of the world? What kind of world do you want to live in?
That's a good question, right? What kind of world do we want? Well, ideally, I would want a world where people are able to understand each other's perspectives better and to be able to work together to create shared goals, right? Whether it is, well, obviously, a world on a world view, it's a very grand scale where I would say the countries, but let's talk about the people around us. Let's talk about the community around me. Let's talk about the community around you know the city where I am. Let's talk about the region where I am, right? Forget about the country and the world, right? Let's talk about the neighborhood first. Let's talk about my immediate family. Because one of the things that I've been recently thinking about is one of the statements of the Prophet ﷺ, where he says, the best of you is the one who is best to his family, and I am the best to my family. That nuclear core, right? That is the building block of society. And it's the hardest to be best to your family because it's very easy to come on
To take them for
a
granted.
public a public stage and be someone for a little while,
Yeah,
right? To put on a sort of aura or a facade and be the person that you want to project out when you come home. And I find that daily where I face this a lot, whether it is with my children, whether it's with my wife, whether it's with my parents, whether it's with my siblings, right? Those are the
it's
people I
just
need
there.
to bring the real NLP, training into, right? Where I can apply that and say, okay, they can say, really, you are the person that people are saying that you are,
Yeah,
and that's the toughest thing that I'm not there yet, right? Um, and and I hope to master that at least before I master the world.
yeah. I think that's not at least. I think that's a big ask from everyone, anyone, you and I included, because family is really where you're without any facades and anything, and you take the liberty, they take the liberty, and they know your all your buttons and all the right ones to press at the wrong time, or the
Right.
wrong ones to press at the right time. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
True.
I get that. So we're nearing the end of our conversation. Um, I just, if you were to meet someone like yourself who was there 10, 15 years ago, or your older, younger self as well, at the edge of all of this,
Hmm.
right? Knowing what you know, what's the one thing you tell them? I mean, I can pick up a few nuggets, but what's the one thing that's really there that needs to be said?
That's an interesting question. So, if I was to give a piece of advice to someone, say, or me 15 years ago, you know, I would say believe in yourself, believe in the possibilities of change, and know that the road doesn't end, it continuously turns and twists, right?
Yeah, yeah,
As long as you are moving in the direction that you believe is right, you are able to pivot with the path.
Yeah. I love the thought. The road really doesn't end, does it?
It doesn't,
It goes on. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And every step
Every
is,
step is a new challenge. Every
yeah.
step is a new choice.
Yes. 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 So, yeah, some really insightful stuff here. Um, letting go, to be in control. Actually, that's how I
Yeah.
would word it. And then, every step is a milestone. And then, bringing it back to the this concept of constant choice, even though we feel that we don't have choices, or we feel that we have all the choices. But I think, and we need to have a lot of other conversations. There's a lot more. So probably, I'll be back in some time. But we would want to explore how this notion of control. Why do we want to have control in the first place? That's interesting. Yeah. But I won't keep you away from your family now. I know it's beyond dinner time, at least in many households, including yours, I'm sure. So thank you for joining in, and thank you for being here, Ali. It was a pleasure. And so until then, I will see you, and I'll say goodbye. Bye.
Thank you for having me. Goodbye.
Thank you. Ali. Thank you. Bye.